who is Skyping in from New York. And I'm glad you timed it to get back to New York right before the blizzard, Ryan.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, it's interesting. As you prepare for the blizzard there has been a blizzard of chatter about Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker emerging from this summit as a dark horse. You had a recent column in the Washington Times that addresses Governor Walker lacking a college diploma, but it's not a disadvantage. You write, quote, "For millions of Americans, Mr. Walker's story is their story. His success, like that of Steve Jobs and others, should be seen as an inspiration by proving that the mere lack of a diploma doesn't limit one's ability to achieve in life." Will Scott Walker be attacked because he's not a college graduate?
I think he will be attacked, but I don't think that it's necessarily a bad thing because it allows Governor Walker to open up the conversation about colleges, which millions of Americans right now are worried about. Only 57% of Americans, according to Gallup, now hold college in a good light. And 44% of Americans actually think college is worth it, considering it's costing tens of thousands of dollars, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars, if you pursue, to become a doctor or a lawyer or an engineer. So I think that opening that process, having that conversation is a very good thing. And it also allows to show the hypocrisy behind Democrats. Hillary Clinton and the Democratic Party want to pose themselves as the party of the people, but Hillary Clinton's college degree is older than the average American. She got over $4,000 a semester going to law school. And it's very hard for talking to Scott Walker, talking about his story, having to drop out of college in order to get a job in order to support his family, is much more, man of the people-esque than Hillary Clinton's story about having $100 million, 3 home states, and a phony marriage.
Well, it sounds like the battle lines have been drawn for a general election. But before we get there, the other theme Scott Walker brought up actually dealt with the differences between his home state of Wisconsin and Washington, D.C. Let's listen to some of that.
That's the difference between the Wisconsin way and the Washington way. In Washington, they keep trying to find ways to take more of your money. In Wisconsin, we want to find ways to give more of the money back to the people who earned it.
A couple of minutes remain, Ryan. So there is Walker sounding those age-old Republican conservative themes, but he's really not of Washington. Being a governor, especially of a state like Wisconsin, has to be a real feather in his cap.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? I give a ton of credit to Governor Scott Walker. To be a red state governor as a Republican and, to kind of coax by and not do any major reforms is much, much different than being a blue state governor. And to be a blue state governor, to be so bold as Governor Scott Walker and as he has with his massive reforms on education, on labor relations, on tax cuts, Scott Walker checks every single box. And there's one thing that people can say about him is that he's, not bold in his actions. It's very, very difficult. We see Chris Christie, who has done a modestly decent job as governor of New Jersey, but at the same time has not transformed New Jersey to make it a more conservative state as someone like Scott Walker did in as a blue state.
Ryan, with a minute left, let's move from the people to the process. Cokie Roberts showed up on ABC News this week slamming the Freedom Summit. Take a listen.
Republicans should stay out of Iowa altogether.
Yeah.
I mean, what happens to them is that they get pushed so far to the right in those venues that it gives them a terrible time in the general election. It hurts them all.
Well, Ryan, 30 seconds remain. Give me 20 seconds, your reaction to what Cokie Roberts said about staying out of Iowa.
I guess it's just not as elitist as where Cokie Roberts is from, so those people and their opinions shouldn't count to her. It's always interesting when a Democrat talks. At least you're entertained while you're being lied to.
And, of course, we should note for the record that Cokie Roberts, the daughter of the late Hale Boggs, who was the House Democrat leader back in the 60s and 70s. Ryan Girdusky, we appreciate your assessment. Thanks for checking in from the Washington Times. Coming up, David Bossy. He helped run the summit. He'll give us his impression of it. That's ahead.